Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bog Panda. We got 86,000 reasons why you need to watch this show. And Mike ain't one. So I'm Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram.
I am Dr. Mike at Official Pagan on everything. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, turn on notifications, leave a couple of comments, not just one, at least a couple of comments, so people really know you like it. And those one of those comments can be a selfie of you wearing some of our merch. And you know what? While you're ordering that merch, why don't you throw on the world's shortest podcast, Hard No?
Yep. And we start getting those selfies of you wearing Bog Panda merchandise. We will drop those selfies into these videos and leave them on the entire video. Just they'll be there. We'll be happy to share. So good to see. So we're going to talk about the almost the Loch Ness monster of mini consoles, the 8600 Z Mini, which most of the activity's been in Japan. You can catch a couple of really good videos on it out there. It's super interesting. Mike and I talk a lot about mini consoles and some really good experience with some of them, some pretty good ones that are out there, some ones that aren't so good. This one's interesting because there's a lot of things that aren't very mini about it, because it just seems like, well, we're going to just make the box that the CPU in is a lot smaller because everything else is apparently when it comes out, it's going to be packaged with a full-size keyboard with lighted keys. So not even a cheap keyboard, a pretty serious one. A mouse, a full-size mouse that apparently can do double duty as a trackball. So that's interesting there. So you're getting a full-size keyboard, full-size mouse, and then this itty bitty version of the 86,000 that is intended to be a pretty. That was always an interesting looking machine, kind of
Yeah.
twin towers of computers, and it
Conspiracy.
no, I think probably I got no jokes. I got no jokes. Moving on. Sorry, I made that analogy. The Humpty Dumpty or the Tweedledee and Tweedledum of uh of consoles. So it had that kind of weird dual carb
Yeah.
kind of thing going. So real interesting looking machines. They look like they're being incredibly faithful to, and apparently people who are fans of the system are a little nutty. Sorry, folks, and they are like, you better get every last moment of this right, or they'll be hell to pay. So,
We'll come and find you.
so most of these actions occurring in Japan. They originally it's a Kickstarter esque stuff that's going on, crowdsourced to get things done. They had a hackers edition early on. Now they're doing kind of an early access thing, and it appears as if the exchange rate holds, you're looking at between $360 to $380 for a mini console with a full size
Certainly on the
keyboard.
higher end of the mini console
Yeah, it
market.
seems on the range this would start to establish the higher end. So so are you counting the days to when you can have one of these added to your.
So I mean I think this is interesting, and you know, I've talked about the C64 mini on here and the popularity of that, which gave rise to the full size C64, which is a full size Commodore 64. And what I thought was great when that came out, when the mini came out, was now beyond just mini consoles, we had a mini computer. And it was kind of cool because not only could it wasn't just emulating games, it had a working version of BASIC on there. So you could install games the old fashioned way. You could write code on there, which I've done twice now for the first two Kelly Slapping You games. Notice I said first two, not just two Kelly Slapping You games. So, I mean, there's really, and for people who are way better at that stuff than me, you could create fully functioning games on there technically. So, I mean, it was amazing. It was very cool to kind of step back in time and use it. And I mean, I even added with Kelly's help and his 3D printing wizardry. I even added an actual floppy disk drive to mine. You know, to make it even more cumbersome to add games to it. But you can just throw games onto a USB drive and plug that in. You don't have to do it that way. But I've had so much fun with it. And one of my favorite things is plugging it into my At Games Legends Mini and using that to take games from floppy disk, again, for no reason other than just the fun of doing it, taking games from a floppy disk to the C64 and playing them on an At Games Legends Mini, again, just for my own fun. So I've had a lot of fun with these. And then we got the 500 Mini. They did a VIC 20. So the computer, there's a market for these kind of classic computers to be reissued. So it's cool to see more of that coming, and not just from one company. That being said, this has always struck me as a kind of a niche computer. We talked about it a little bit when we talked about their version of Castlevania Chronicles. My experience with it is extremely limited. I believe it was only technically released in Japan, although people, I'm sure had them here. So it's a gaming focused PC. And like Kelly said, it had an interesting look. It seems like it's a pain to emulate the games, although there is emulators for them. It seems like it's a pain to emulate them because of the dual hard drives that it had. A lot of times you had to put two discs in at the same time if it was two disc games. So it's like awkward emulation and things like that. So it's kind of cool that this is coming out. If you're a big fan of it, that's cool. That price point seems so high though. That's far more than I even spent on the full size Commodore 64 reissue and getting the floppy drive for it together and buying another joystick for it. Like, that's still more than all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a fan, it looks. I mean, they're going all out on a lot of it in terms of realism, all that. Although the Amiga 500 Mini did not fall short when it came to say, I'm going to replicate also a fairly unique chassis for the 500. They've done great, but that's straight emulation. There are some ways you can get Workbench up and running and do some things. It's a little involved, but can be done. A little more straightforward in the 64 land that Mike was talking about. This one looks like it's going to be, it's pretty much, you're going to have a lot of the functionality of the computer without, the thing will be interesting is kind of part of the way it made its mark is it had arcade quality graphics capability and arcade quality sound capability, which is going to be a little hard to replicate on that form factor, I would think. Although we've come a long way for them to come close to what was amazing, 20 years ago is not right. So amazing now. So I think they can do a few things there. But I mean, games look beautiful on it. When you see some of the stuff that went on it, it was, arcade level experience. So it's interesting. I just, at that point, I'm buying another piece of hardware. And if I'm going to buy another piece of hardware, I'm not going to buy a mini unless somehow I had some sort of connection back to that system, which I don't.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. This would probably be more interesting to me. I mean, I think it's really cool, and I hope they keep doing these classic computer releases. I'm waiting for like a Windows 95 based mini PC to come out. But I hope they keep doing stuff like this because it's really cool. This is just something that I think is so niche. And with the price point being so high, there's a really limited window for this. This isn't like Commodore 64 or Amiga where you have huge fan bases for them still. And, not only homebrew games coming out, but as we mentioned in other episodes, like Netflix put out a Commodore 64 program a few years ago. So like big companies still doing stuff with this classic hardware. I don't really see that with this. So this is something that's super hyper focused in who it's targeting.
Yeah. So I think here's another great idea, technology world. We give you these all the time. You guys need to start acting on them. It'll be the Gateway Mini. So it'll be back in the day, folks. People used to always buy, not a lot of people, many people bought computers from Gateway, and they would come to your house in a large box that was festooned like a dairy cow. So it looked kind of like they had skinned a cow and wrapped it around your computer box. So isn't that special? So they come in with that kind of motif there. So we need to do the Gateway Mini, which is where you can put your Windows 95 mini computer in, and it comes in a Gateway box, which will be
my
a little
first
gateway.
computer was Gateway, and that was pre Windows 95. So that was like Windows 3.0 or whatever. And yeah, that was my first computer. We need the Gateway Mini.
Gateway Mini is another one. Virtual Boy Mini, Gateway Mini. We're giving and we're giving, Sarah. So
we just give and give. Get on the ball, guys.
That's right. We'll accept a commission, small finder's fee for these ideas.
At the very least, we need review units for the Gateway Mini.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, for the Gateway Mini, for the actually keep your Virtual Boy Mini. I'm sure it's fine. You know.
Bog Panda.